What a great opportunity we have here. We're at Prairie Star Farms up in Missouri, and we happen to be here with the owners, Bruce, Jan. And so both of them have very strong suits in what their knowledge base. And so Bruce, tell us, what do you bring to the table? What's your expertise?
I bring my wife. She's the brains of this outfit. So, but I guess in married life, you say you'll promise you a rose garden. I never promise you a rose garden, but we're surrounded by flowers here, and better than a rose garden. And I think Jan absolutely loves it. And the greatest part is Jan can identify all of the plants, all of the flowers, and tells a story and what value they are to us and to the wildlife. And that's cool. I love that part.
So he built you up, way up high, put you on a pedestal, which is cool.
Yes.
Tell them, how unique is this in prairie lands in themselves? We're having an issue with keeping them, right?
Prairie is probably the rarest of our ecosystems. It's depleted mainly because it is the red basket of the United States. It's what was plowed up and used for our agribusiness, and what is left, it was just those little parcels that really could not be plowed. So there are very, very few acres left, and our attempt here is never to create a prairie, because that takes, an incredible amount of time. But we are trying to push our ecosystem back to what we might have had here pre-settlement in plants.
Right.
It is an opportunity for us to see what the earth will do on its own, giving it a little bit of rest time from pasturing it or growing agriculture in it. It is an opportunity for people to see what it was like when their grandparents were here, before we started manipulating the ground for greater yield. So when people come here, it's always amazing to see how much they're drawn into the environment. They get out of the vehicles for a variety of things. I mean, they come for social events and for school events, and before you know it, though, they're just kind of drawn out into that landscape. And so it's a learning experience for them to see our plant life that was always here and find some value in it. And it's fun, especially with kids, to take them on a little tour about and look at plants for, the simple value of them. There's one in the field that's called a cup plant. And the leaves grow down around the base, creating this cup, hence the name. But in pre-settlement days, if you were in a buckboard with your mom and dad, they'd send you out in front of that buckboard in the morning with a pail, and you tip those plants over and drain the water out that would collect there overnight from dew or rain. And it was potable water then. It was water that they would use throughout the day for their drinking water. So having our kids come in and see that sort of relationship of young people from 100 years ago to where they are now, I hope that it not only gives them a glimpse into the past, but makes them appreciative of turning on the faucet in their kitchen and having water at their whim and will, and to learn not to be wasteful with it, and to give them a little bit more ethic about how they live on this earth. So.
Yeah, and some of this comes about from controlled burning, right?
The Native Americans that lived on this planet didn't have bulldozers, they didn't have chemicals, they didn't have brush hogs and tractors, they didn't have any of that stuff. The only tool they had to manage the landscape was fire. And they used fire intensely. If they wanted to travel across the landscape, wading through that tall grass was a mess. So they just burn it, and it makes travel easy. They burn to clear a landscape, they burn in warfare, they burn to cover their tracks when retreating from a battle. They burn at certain times of year because they know the vegetative response the following year was going to yield certain plants that were beneficial to them. For 1,000 reasons they burn. And our plants adapted to fire. And we have a robust vegetation and a robust landscape because of it. And so we duplicate the same thing here. We don't brush hog and we don't use chemical sprays except to control the exotic vegetation, those things that aren't native to Missouri. But we use fire to manage the vegetation and it has great response.
For you to come, you can quiz Jan about all the flowers and everything. And of course, the fire master would be more than happy to talk to you about fire, how they're using it here to make it a better place.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.